Okay, we're gonna get started. Just so everybody knows, we do have, the Zoom link going. It does record. At the end, if anybody wants to talk about like more personal stuff, we do shut it off. So I'm just saying that up front right away, so that you know there is a recording going on right now. Because I know there's some new faces to our meeting, so I just want to make sure everybody knows. Right. Thank you all for coming to our first SELAC meeting of the year. My name is Kristen Riccadelli. I am the chair of SELAC.
Hi, I'm Amanda Fafford, co-chair.
I'm Diana LeBlanc, secretary.
I have lived in Smithfield for 9 years, so I'm not a long-term Smithfield person. I guess 9 years is now, but I'm not born and raised from here. I have 3 kids in district. My oldest is in the self-contained room at the middle school. I have a first grader and a kindergartner at PVE.
And I'm Amanda. I've lived in Smithfield forever. So I am a long-term lifer of Smithfield. I have 3 kids, 2 in Smithfield schools. So I have 1 at Gallagher in 6th grade and 1 at 2nd grade at Lamarche.
I am Diana. I have lived in Smithfield for 6 years. And I have 3 children, 2 in the district, 1 in 4th and another in 6th. And I have my youngest will be coming to kindergarten next year.
So all of us have kiddos with either IEPs or 504, so that's why we're on the board, because SELAC is run by parents or families that have kids with IEPs or 504s, and all of our learners are very, very different. So if you have a question, feel free to contact us, because most likely we've experienced something like it. Every kid is so different, so even though some kid may have diagnosed with something, it's important to know not every single situation is so different.
And then we also have our special ed director, I mean Cordell here. And we have the LaPerche principal, Ms. Julie Dorsey here. There's like our elements. And we have teachers,
so
you
thanks for
guys
coming.
want
And
wait.
If
you want to. Julie.
Julia. No, thanks for coming. Your days are long, so I appreciate you supporting us and supporting the families, and it doesn't go unnoticed. We understand. Early times.
We're gonna kick off by approving our minutes from our last meeting in May.
So our last meeting was May 22nd, 2024. Our guest speaker was Carrie Casino with Spear. The board spoke about positivity showcase, color runs, CPR classes, the ability bridge. We wrapped it up with the special ed director's update. And we held board elections. You can look at the full notes and video playback on Smithfield Public Schools District website and SELAC's Google website. And then we ended with the party.
We approve them as a board. Everybody, it was good with. They are on, they will get posted on the special ed, like district website, as well as our website. So if you want to read them later. Just quickly, we have booked all of our usual events for the school year. Sometimes we do some pop-in things. So very briefly, every month we do a sensory play hour at East Smithfield Public Library. It's the first Monday of the month from 4 to 5 p.m. It's just like that time to help students transition from school to home at like right before dinner period. We have fidgets, lots of arts and crafts things, sensory bins. The children's librarian comes up and she brings up books. She has a game that she kind of does, and then we just have a bunch of other sensory toys. It is great because we can be as loud and noisy and make as much of a mess, and they're totally fine with it. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We're also right next to a kitchen and a bathroom if those are needed for whatever reason. So that's really great. CPR and first aid, we have the first one scheduled for next Saturday, the 19th at the police station. You do have to register. I have to make sure that we have enough instructors for that. So everyone has to register. It is free. You do get a card as well. But it is about a 2.5–3 hour period that you need to block off. And it's really just because of, you don't know how many people are going to be there, who will actually show up, the questions, and you just want to make sure you give yourself enough time for that morning. The second one is in March, but I'm not going to that one will come. So if you want to do it next week, just let me know. Santa, if anybody has been following our calendar, it had said December 14th. It is now actually going to be on December 7th here at the high school. We had to move it with some events that popped up at the high school. So we had to move the date to kind of accommodate the event that they were putting on. We didn't want to be putting an event on at the same time as someone else. And then our color run.
Yeah, so the color run is tentatively going to be the first weekend of May again, but I'm waiting to get approval from the town. And yeah. Stay tuned.
And then we have already given out a positivity showcase award this year.
Yep.
Hannah?
It was Mrs. Amanda Lemick at Old County. She's a special ed teacher. She was the September positivity showcase.
So for new people who are here, Positivity Showcase is anybody can nominate anonymously somebody who works for Smithfield Public Schools. We had a bus monitor, we have special educators, paras, administrators, anybody can nominate somebody for just being positive, somebody making a positive influence in your child's life, or you see them doing something kind or sweet. And we go and deliver them little gifts. So we make handmade bags, we'll surprise them at their school, gift cards sometimes, flowers, depending, but this is all board. It's not anybody else. It's the three of us that donate to it, and we
We are
go
not the
and
ones that pick. Just so you
Yes.
guys know, we don't pick the recipient. We do have a committee that we put all of the names in the committee with the actual nominations. And then it's decided amongst them. We are not part of that.
And
We
that's-
obviously see them, but we don't do any of part
Yeah.
of the nom.
And that's only if we have an overwhelming amount. If we have only a couple, we try and recognize all of them or as many as we can, because it's important to recognize, like Diana says, the good stuff that's going on in our district. And we have awesome educators, awesome people in our district that are doing great things, going above and beyond, and it's important that people don't lose sight of that. And special ed can get kind of, when you're a parent, you're kind of, it's always sometimes negative, but there are so many great things going on. It's important to keep the positive.
Right, and the last thing that we have scheduled is to get together for Light It Up Red.
Yeah, so Light It Up Red, we're partnering with Decoding Dyslexia, who's going to be doing a presentation right after I speak. So Light It Up Red, if anybody wants to join us, it's going to be October 18th. We're going to go to the State House. We're going to represent Smithfield's. Senator Chicoine's going to join us. We're going to have dress in red, head to the stairs, take a picture, and just show the state why Smithfield's the best town, in my opinion, and show why we're so supportive of all learners, all diverse learners. So if anyone wants to join us, there is a little link that you can sign up, just so we can keep track of who's coming. That way we don't forget anybody in the picture. We don't want anybody to feel left out. We're gonna head there for 5. It starts at 5:30. So, but we figured if everyone gets there at 5, wear your red, and take a photo, and yeah. So feel free, everyone's welcome.
It's gonna be inside in the,
Yeah.
I forget what they call it, the.
stairs.
Yeah, just inside like the main stair.
The lobby area,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a lobby really, it's a city
Yeah.
house, but we'll call it there.
We're
Inside the
meeting
big
there
circle,
for 5.
right, the big circle.
I got goosebumps, so you're getting a whole crew together, that's awesome.
Yeah, so trying to definitely show, like I said, why
Is this the first year for it or no?
it's the first year that we're partnering with
Yeah.
you guys, they've lighted
Yeah.
red, previously.
Years now? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, 3 years prior, so this is the 4th year. And it's also with the Hamilton Foundation, they provide the funds to light it.
Great.
So,
Great. And so we have 2 presenters today. Lise came last year, right? Last May. And then Tiffany is here also. Tiffany is a graduate of Smithfield High School. So it's great to have her come, and it's kind of like a full circle thing. So thanks for coming, both of you, again. So yeah.
Thank you guys all for coming. I'm Lise and this is Tiffany, and we're part of Decoding Dyslexia Rhode Island. We're a grassroots group that was formed mostly by parents, but we're also educators. Yeah, people that are just really concerned about the state of our kids and people with dyslexia. I think for me, it was a journey out of like sheer panic. My daughter now is in 12th grade, which is crazy to think that I've been on this journey since kindergarten, knowing about it since kindergarten. So I think in over the years that I've been a part of this, we've come a long way, I think, as a state and as districts, which is really wonderful to see. You know, we're not saying, oh, it'll just click and, you know, next year they'll get it, it'll be fine. You know, we're really making strides. So we're happy to be doing presentations like this, to have Light Rhode Island Read, to have the Right to Read Act that was passed. These are all things we've been behind and supported. So we were founded in 2014 by Suzanne Arena, which is wonderful. We promote evidence-based literacy practices and try to empower families and collaborate with districts, and also work on policy as well. So things like Right to Read. And so just an agenda for what we're going to do. First, we'll start with some challenges for students with dyslexia. Tiffany has an amazing presentation that I love to see. A little bit about dyslexia in schools. Some of it I covered a lot last year, so I thought maybe we'd focus a little differently. Strengthening that school-family partnership. I think for me, as I'm on this end of my journey, looking back, I try to say, like, what are things I wish I had done differently or known differently? And again, I think similar to what you're saying with those like positive awards, like the relationship can be tough, but I think if we really try to strengthen it and try to, you know, remember that it's for the benefit of the kid, it's not always digging our heels in. How can we work together to make sure that we're, you know, doing the best we can for the, you know, for our students, for our children. So a little bit about that, and then we'll do some plugs for the Dyslexia Awareness Month.
So everyone has an index card, and I want you to write why you're here. You don't have to share it with anyone. This is just for you. What is your why? Why are you here? So I'm going to begin with my story. So this is my family. My mom, my dad graduated Mount Pleasant. That was their highest education. That's me in the red, and that's my sister who's 22 months older than me. I remember, my first memory that something was, that I wasn't as smart as the other kids, was in first grade. And I remember counting like when it was my turn to read, and I would go to the bathroom. I remember going home with my mom and she's like, did you read today? And I was like, no. So my mom knew that my sister was much better learner than me. She could read like right off the bat. So my mom bought the program Hooked on Phonics. And the biggest joke is that it didn't work for me. My mom would hire tutors and I would do well with them. But when it was to go to school, I would fail. Going into high school, it was clear at that point that I was not as good as my friends. I could not read and I could not write. To get out of it in class, I would do my fun personality, like, oh, I don't have my glasses, I can't read, or I can't write, my hand hurts. And I think it was like every hypochondriac thing that I said to get out of reading and writing. Sophomore year, I had Miss St. Pierre, and I don't know if any of you know her. And Miss St. Pierre would stay after school with me every single day. And she would make note cards and cheat sheets, as I used to call them. There are two things that Miss St. Pierre did. Number one is we had to number a war in order. And I was numbering it, erasing it, number it, erasing it. She took it and she said, meet me after class. After class, she gave me my index cards and she let me put it in order and she gave me full credit. Another thing she did was I had a biology test in her class, in her exam together. And she's like, don't study for mine. study for biology, and then, come take mine. So as soon as I walked in her class, I don't know how she did it, but I got called down to the office, and I was just sitting in the head office. That biology test, I got back, and it was a 42. The teacher said, "Did you study?" in front of the whole class, and I said, "Yeah." She goes, "No, did you study?" And I was like, "Yes." She goes, "If you lie to me one more time, we're walking down to the office." I said, "Okay." So we walked down to the office. She called my mother and she's like, "Tiffany's saying that she studied. Did she study?" And my mom's like, "Yes, she did." 11th grade, I had class with a math teacher. And at that time we were having IMP. I don't know if you guys still have that anymore. And it was all word problems. So it was math, but it was all word problems. So I'm in class and I can't read. And the teacher called me stupid in front of the whole class. I went home and I told my mom. They had a meeting with the principal. And she's like, "Yeah, I called your daughter stupid." I admitted it to my mom. At that point, my mom knew that there was something wrong. So she had me privately tested at Rhode Island Hospital, where I got diagnosed as severely dyslexic, ADHD, and a processing disorder. They told her that I was never going to go to college and that I needed to find a multisensory approach to reading. So my mother went online, and that's where we met Helene Shupak. So Helene, the first time I met with Helene, she goes, "Do you feel stupid?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "How dumb do you feel?" And I'm like, "Really dumb." And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Because you're dyslexic." So she met with my mom and she's like, "You're not dyslexic." She met with my dad and she goes, "That's where you get it from." Helene is 90 years old. This picture was taken like a month ago, and she will be getting an award on Light It Up Red Night. It was funny when when I was diagnosed, my sister goes, "Mom, I think I have a learning disability too." And my mom goes, "Yeah, laziness." So I went to CCRI and URI. I wish I could say that they were all positive experience, but they weren't. URI, I had this one professor who I went to and I was like, "I can't keep up with the reading." And she's like, "Nope, you need to." And I was like, "But I can't." She's like, "Nope, you just gotta keep up." So I called my mother and she's like, "You're gonna let her talk to you like that?" I was like, "Okay." So I went back in and I was like, "You teach us every day to differentiate, and you're not gonna differentiate from me." I also went to her when I failed the praxis 3 times by a point, because they would grant me extra time, but they wouldn't grant me a reader. She goes, "Maybe you're not cut out to be a teacher." So I became a teacher. This is my 15th year. And then I decided to get my Orton Gillingham certification. And that is Deb, who has been my teacher and my mentor all of these years. And I can keep on asking her questions, and she never says that's a dumb question. She always answers all of them. I then went to Johnson & Wales for my master's. And as I'm sitting in, waiting for my interview, they said, "Dyslexic is coming in." So I texted my mother and I said, "Uh-oh, here we go." When I walked in, it was a very different feel. There was 8 people that read my letter to get in with the application, and they had all these questions for me. They were all positive, and they were all really concerned about how I was going to do well in their program. The first 2 trimesters, I loved Johnson & Wales. And then the third trimester, a professor who was the curriculum director at a public school here in Rhode Island, said that there are no adults dyslexics. So I raised my hand and I asked her, "Where do they go?" And she's like, "I don't understand." I said, "Well, are they like a unicorn and runs off in a rainbow? Like, I don't understand where they go." So that trimester, there was a lot of tears. The next trimester, I had her again, and she changed the book to grit. She told me that if I had more grit, then I could be a better reader. I ended up graduating Johnson & Wales with a 4.0. So I proved her wrong. So as I asked you what your why is, this is my why. These group of amazing women who have come together and are out in the community and trying to hopefully educate families. And we're trying to build for students that you can do hard things. You can do it. It might take you a little longer, but you can definitely do it. And we're trying to start a youth group for kids with dyslexia to do fun things. So that way they can have somebody that they can connect to, so they don't have to go through this alone.
It's hard to follow that. I have to say, reading Tiffany, I even like, I get choked up because as a mom of a senior now, I have those fears and those worries of like, oh my gosh, you know, she wants to go to college, she actually wants to be a teacher as well, which I think amazes me after the struggles and like, you know, I can't imagine going to a job every day where I'm not supported, where I'm set up to fail, but you do it, you persevere, and it just, seeing Tiffany just gives me a lot of hope and is the why I do this too. Like I think it's awesome. So thank you for sharing your story. So now, okay, let me get my. Honestly, I know, but I still can't do it. Yeah, it's good. So I just have a few slides. Again, some of them we went over last year, but for anyone that's new, I think the big piece of this, so the components of reading, it's not something that's easy. It's not something we learn naturally. It's not like speaking and language. We don't pick it up. They're on a very high level, sort of the simple view of reading, language comprehension and decoding or word reading equal reading comprehension. And it's multiplication. So if we don't have one, we don't have reading comprehension. All these sub skills that are listed below, background knowledge, vocabulary, decoding, phonological awareness, those are all skills that have to be taught and have to be practiced. And as you can see, this reading rope, they start to have to really mesh seamlessly. So in our brains, if we're proficient readers, we're using all of these sub skills seamlessly, and it's coming together. For our kids with dyslexia, they typically struggle with that word recognition side, the phonological awareness piece specifically, and then it starts to impact even the language comprehension. They're not reading, so they're not building vocabulary, they're not developing background knowledge. But this is really just, you know, even if we are proficient readers, we somehow developed these skills and figured out how to make them work. So I think as a parent, this is important because it's not just, it's going to click one day for your child. And thankfully, I don't think we're there anymore as districts. We do understand the science of reading and sort of the complexity and the components of reading. Back again, when my daughter was in elementary school, it'll just click, you know, but knowing this, it really is a complex set of skills that have to be taught and practiced. Like anything, we have to develop automaticity, and just like in a sport, you have to practice it to get better. So dyslexia, I mentioned it a little bit before. It's a neurobiological specific learning disability, and it's characterized by difficulties with accurate and fluent word recognition. And it's also poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in that phonological component of language. And again, that's where it starts, but then it can trickle into, again, impeding vocabulary, developing background knowledge. If we're not a strong reader, we're not going to read a lot, and then we're not going to sort of improve that skill. I think also on the social emotional side, there's things like shame, feeling stupid, you know, all these things that just sort of make it even harder to go to school and learn. If you have this anxiety of being called out for reading or spelling, it takes a lot of that cognitive load, so you can't really be working on learning the skills that are being taught. So ideally, when it comes to addressing dyslexia in school, what we'd like to start with, and what we are now, again, because of that high quality instructional material law that was also passed in year's right to read, we have a good evidence-based core instruction curriculum. So this is based on structured literacy. It's taught explicitly and systematically. These are things that weren't in place, again, when my daughter was in kindergarten. So I'm very hopeful that, I think it's the end of this year, I think that every school has to have it implemented. So hopefully we're there. We're all using a good curriculum. No curriculum is perfect. We should supplement and look and see where there's gaps, but it's a much better starting point than where some districts were in terms of curriculum. That screening 3 times a year is super important, and as parents, ask about it, you know, look into it. Ideally, if we're seeing anything that's below the benchmarks that are set, We should then look into getting that child into an MTSS, doing some diagnostic testing to see exactly where is the breakdown. Going back to that reading rope and all those sub skills. You know, a screener will sort of tell you at a very high level, yes, the child isn't on benchmark. But then you want to look, where is the breakdown? Is it phonological awareness? Is it decoding? Is it vocabulary? Is it background knowledge? You know, these are all things that then you want to target in that multi-tiered system of support or RTI. If that's then not helping to close that gap and bring that kid towards proficiency, then looking at special ed. And hopefully in both of these areas, we have trained reading specialists and trained special ed educators that are working on these, working with these students and really looking at targeted intervention. What are those sub skills? You know, to say just fluency, you know, there's so many things that go into being a fluent reader. So we have to take it to that lower level, keep digging down diagnostically to see where these kids are struggling. And then progress monitoring, I think, is huge. Making sure that the intervention is being done, we're seeing some progress so that they can start to close those gaps. And along with that, accommodations, you know, so that the child can access grade level material. You don't want them to be working, you know, if they're reading at a second grade level, if all they're being exposed to is second grade material, but they're in 5th grade, it's not going to be helpful at all. So there have to be accommodations to access grade level material while they're also getting that specialized instruction. So this is hopefully what it's starting to look like, and I do feel like we're heading in this direction. As people have been trained through the right to read, I think we understand better those components of reading and that it's not something that's just going to click. Or like an English teacher telling my daughter, I just wish she'd find a book she loved to read. It's like, I used to walk the library when we were little or when she was little and just, does this book interest you? You know, that it didn't matter. You know, she needed that specialized instruction to help her. So that, if anyone has any questions while we go, we're happy to take them, but we also have time at the end. So I think again, looking back kind of on my K through 12 journey, I think that strengthening school and family partnership is so important. You know, we can battle each other, we can, you know, dig our heels in, we can even, you know, due process and all that stuff. There's a place for it, but at the end of the day, we're losing time and our kid isn't getting what they need. So I think sometimes we just gotta be the adults in the room and figure out a way to work together and remember the why. You know, that child in front of you, that student in front of you, you know, they might leave your class this year, but from a standpoint of a parent, this doesn't go away. You know, we deal with it every year. We think about, you know, what's going to happen after 12th grade? Are they going to be able to go to college? Are they going to be able to be proficient in a trade? These are all things that sort of are the reasons sometimes we come in with a lot of anxiety. So I think a big thing is really just seeking to understand each other. You know, the parents' perspective. You know, when we come into meetings, sometimes it's like, oh, they're great, they're doing fine, they're, you know, they're sweet, you know, she's a nice kid, she's good, she listens, she does this. So, you know, the invisible struggles might be what's seen. They're sitting in the back of the class, right? Kind of hiding and not wanting to be called out, or they're getting in trouble and wanting to leave class. There's lots of things that can be shown. I think, you know, for me, my daughter would get off the bus and just lose it, you know, cry and be upset. And I have no idea what went on today. I can't keep up. But in the meeting, it's like, she's doing great. You know, there's a disconnect there sometimes. They hold it together and don't want to kind of be called out. But when they come home in that safe space, they sort of let it all out. Yeah, that's what it sort of comes up, the anxiety piece of it. I think that social emotional piece for our kids especially, you know, again, they might not look different from their kids. There isn't a visible disability, but it's there, and we have to sort of support them and make sure we acknowledge it and not just say, you're doing great. So for us, you know, as parents, we're looking beyond that K through 12 experience, and we advocate today so our children can thrive tomorrow. And yeah, I think just really trying to partner with the school. I know it's difficult, but I think ultimately we can't, time is precious, so we gotta keep our kids at the forefront of these meetings. So from a parent's perspective, partnering with your school, just some general things, speak up if you have concerns. Share if there's a family history, as you said, and that's my example too. I was a typical reader, so this was all new to me, and it's, once I started speaking to my mother-in-law, like, oh, my brother-in-law struggled, and you start to like understand this. So if you know that, be proactive and share that with the school. Again, with the right to read training, I think teachers will pick up on things like that. Once I did my research in second grade, trying to figure out what was going on, I realized that back in preschool, we probably could have figured out that my daughter had dyslexia. The family history, she couldn't rhyme, she didn't like Dr. Seuss books, which was so interesting to me. I thought every kid liked Dr. Seuss books, but the rhyming, couldn't pick it up, couldn't figure out the alphabet. Days of the week still to this day are challenging. So there's a lot of signs that, had we known back then, we could have then already sort of put her, on a track to be really supported. So speak up if there's anything, if they do get off that bus and melt down, share that with the school. Really try and bring the importance of identifying them early and getting them support. Resources for family, our website, our president Shannon has done an amazing job with the amount of resources on our website. Just if you want to look, we also have a Facebook group for parents. I have a QR code at the end if you want to join that. You can also reach out to us. We all, in what time we have, we're happy to speak directly with parents. We've even gone to meetings at times. We want to be that support, and don't want to see anyone go through what we've unfortunately gone through. Ripon does have some really good resources now for dyslexia. They have some webinars that they did. We did one in partnership with them and with RIDE as well. And the Rhode Island Department of Ed has a lot of informational material on literacy, dyslexia, structured literacy, kind of things you should be looking for. Also, the PLPs have been updated. The guidance has been updated for that. That's an important piece for our kiddos too. Sometimes they don't always qualify for special ed. But even if they do, they still typically have that personal literacy plan. So we want to make sure we're really supporting them all around. And then understood.org is also another good resource for parents if you have questions or things you want to look into. This is just, again, just a little highlight of our website. There's so many resources on it. Shannon updates it all the time. Lots of videos, lots of sample letters if you want things to look for as you're, critiquing what's sort of told to you in meetings, sometimes for qualification meetings, things like that. And then just some thoughts on how maybe we can partner better in general. On the school side, learning the characteristics of dyslexia, providing that explicit evidence-based instruction. I think important, communicate early and often with families. I know every family is different, and not everyone is going to go and join the board of Decoding Dyslexia. So you have challenges there in terms of how to support. But I think if you don't try, if you make assumptions and like, don't share your thoughts, I think it could be a missed opportunity. So communicate often and early. Identify struggling readers early and intervene with urgency. Again, looking back on our journey, those K through third grade years, it was just sort of like, we'll wait and see. And then you're at a point where it's hard to fit it in the schedule. So really take that seriously and communicate to the parents how serious those years are for learning to read. And maybe that will help them get on board as well. Using things like universal design for learning. Again, if if someone's lecturing up in front of the class, kids are trying to take notes, you have someone with dyslexia who struggles with spelling, they're trying to listen and write notes, that can be a challenge. I think in general, at least what I've seen, it is very different from when I was in school, because that, that was the case, but it seems guided notes, things like that are much more universally used, but those are things that our kids who are, you know, trying to figure out how to spell a word, but listen to you and then lose the point of the lecture, it's challenging. On the accommodation side, you know, make sure that you're implementing them, and I think for regular ed teachers as well as special ed teachers, provide some feedback, you know, are they being used? Has the student been taught how to use them? Those are all important things. You know, my daughter in the beginning, read and write was loaded on her computer, but no one taught her how to use it. So just making sure if you're seeing things in your class that their accommodations aren't being used, dig in a little bit, you know, why aren't they using them? What can we change to help that? And then on the home side, you know, this, I guess, can be up to every family, but I think personally explaining dyslexia to your child, you know, depending on their age or wherever they are, but I think it's important, you know, so that it's, for my daughter, again, it was like, oh, I'm not stupid, or, you know, it's like, there's a reason. I think that's powerful for a kid. Be supportive, you know, acknowledge it's hard, but explain that it's critical work. And I think, you know, make sure that they're doing the work. Yes, this is harder than what it is for your sister to do. My daughter has the same thing, a younger sister who didn't struggle to read. There's nothing more frustrating than a younger sibling who's correcting your spelling. But, you know, it's okay. We'll get through this together, you know, be supportive, but hold them to task. I think early on, my daughter would come home crying and I, you know, want to just support her, but it's like, no, we got to still, reading is important. We got to hold them to all the work. Self-advocacy is a huge thing to start working on early on. Again, now that she's about to go to college and I'm not going with her, I don't want to go with her. We got to make sure that she's willing to go speak to that professor. So really working on that now. I'm trying to take a step back completely this senior year. Probably should have done it last year, but as early as you can. And when kids are younger, maybe they're more excited to do that. Sometimes those high school years, they're not quite excited to do that. But I think that's a huge skill. Obviously, reading to your child, help build that background knowledge, that vocabulary. Using audiobooks, that's helpful, again, to access grade level curriculum, keeping up with that vocabulary that's age appropriate or grade appropriate, and using decodable books to practice specific phonics skills if that's needed. Those are really important. And again, that we have some older decodables now, but definitely in the younger years, those are great practice. And just a few examples, things like hosting literacy nights. I think to me, it shows the importance of literacy, especially in those elementary years. As a parent who, you know, was a typical reader, I had no idea what I should have probably been investing in, and especially when it was not coming easy, you know, it was, you know, we didn't know. So if schools are hosting nights for literacy, I think it conveys the importance of that K-3 and learning to read. That probably the most important skill that these kids should come out of their public education with. I think things like explaining those components of reading and how there's all these sub skills and that it's not just going to come naturally for all is really important. Identifying the milestones, you know, the benchmarks they should be meeting, and having parents speak up if they're not meeting those. Explaining the curriculum, as we all are taking in this new curriculum, share it with parents so that they can be supportive at home. And then newsletters or classroom emails that, again, similar things, really stressing the skills that they're learning, providing some things that parents could be doing at home. It's such a critical skill that I feel like it should get more attention, you know, from the district, so parents understand too, that it's not just gonna click one day. So, October Dyslexia Awareness Month stuff. We have on our website, we have a whole tab on Dyslexia Awareness Month, and there's some things that, you know, whether your child is in elementary school, middle school, or high school, things that they can do even in your own town. There's template letters to try and get your city hall or town hall lit up red. Letters to write to the library to see if they'll do a display or like the library of red. You can host a Wear Red Day for awareness. You can watch a movie, Saved by Ruby. That's our Rhode Island state trooper. He has dyslexia. He didn't become an adult. Sorry. Yeah, you can share motivational quotes of, you know, famous people with dyslexia, just things to, you know, help these kids not feel like they're alone, you know, and again, maybe promoting a youth advisory group. That's something that we really would love to do. We have created an awesome partnership with the Department of Ed. We are going to be hosting a family game day at Weaver Library in East Providence on the 12th. And we have, Tiffany in her house has a lot of books. They're decoded. Well, right now we don't have the
We
decoding.
don't have the decodables yet, they're on backwater, but we have 3,000 brand new books from Barnes and Noble that Department of Ed we worked together. So we'll be passing those out on Saturday. And then over here is a picture of a Butterfly Farm. You guys never been. He's amazing, Farmer Dan, but we'll be there on Sunday passing out books also.
So families can come and get books, so maybe encourage your families in the school. You can post this, also at Light Rhode Island Red, we'll have books as well to give away. And if there's other community events that we can go to, I think we'll have some books. And they're for all ages as well.
Yes, we have from little ones, old ones, and they're both in English and in Spanish.
Yeah, it's great. And then also with that partnership, RIDE has donated these little learners knapsacks, which are decodable books with phonics charts and manuals for parents to really support those early stages of learning to read. I think we have 8 libraries.
Yeah, so we're gonna go help librarians, train them how to use them. How to use decodables, what they are, host some family nights there. So we can just get it out there for kids to be able to check out these books.
Yeah. And again, I know my experience, I would walk our children's section of the library trying to see if there was a book my daughter would love, and had the librarian had some understanding and knowledge, maybe she would have pointed us to decodables. Or even, hey, you know, maybe you want to check out a group like Decoding Dyslexia, get more information. So we're hoping that through this, we can bring more awareness. Yeah, I think it'll be great. Let's see. Oh, the libraries, South Providence, Knight Memorial in Providence, Newport, West Warwick, East Greenwich, Greenville, Woonsocket, and North Kingston are right now the 8. And then we're hoping to add to that. And then this is the Light Rhode Island Red. So yeah, 5:30 at the State House. And there should be some other buildings as well around Providence that will be red. It's just a really nice event. And then that's our little group right there. So if anyone would also like to join us, we're happy to expand. And the 2 QR codes, one is just for our website and the other one is that Facebook group, if anyone's interested, for parents to join. And we also, for educators, we do the Rhode Island Science of Reading, is really just sort of for the educators where they can collaborate and discuss things, challenges they're having or successes they're having as well. We do want to support those. So that's it. Thank you. Anyone has any questions, we'll take them, but if not. Any questions?
What time are you gonna be at Butterfly Farm on Sunday? Is it the same time as the Weaver Library?
On Sunday it is 10.
Where's Farmer Dan do?
Look at
That was the cutest little setup she had. Loved it.
If you've never been there, it's the cutest farm. There's like dogs running everywhere. There's like from 10 to 4.
10 to 4.
Yeah, and the books are great. I think families have been really happy with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they like, okay, are they, is it a special book, the decoding? Like, or can
Yes.
you decode any book?
Well, so the decodables, right?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I probably should have explained that a little better. So the decodables are to work on a specific phonics pattern, or, so in theory, they'll go from simple, cat, like CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words, then they can get to more complex. So they build, so what you want to do in theory, if, again, understanding the curriculum that your child is working with, they will be developing these phonics patterns and practicing them. You can get these books and it's just practice. So it's books where the majority of the words are decodable, so traditional, not sort of the odd words or the sight words, and they can practice. So it's really,
And like for a student that should have maybe gotten them, but didn't,
so we have older decodables as
Yeah.
well. Yep. So there are some older ones that won't be as specific, but they will, within the series, typically in the back or the front of them, they'll say what either vowel patterns or syllable types will be covered in that book, so you can see if that's where the student has been matched. So it's really, the stories, they've come a long way. They're, it used to be like cat sat on a mat, and at a very basic level, that's important though.
Yeah.
A kid's excited to be able to read those words, but they're working on a specific phonics structure segment. But for the older kids, they typically have, they're obviously much more interesting and a little more grown up, but they're still good to work on having the majority of the words being able for them to be sounded out and decoded so that they can work on those. That's the thing, it's building that automaticity. It takes practice. So decodables are meant really for practicing your decoding and your phonics patterns.
Gotcha.
Once they're proficient with that, but yeah, so a typical book, still decodable, but these are sort of, they don't want to be too beyond where the student is learning.
so they're by grade level.
They're by
Scale.
yeah. And so it's nice.
We have there will be a flyer there to like kind of guide you, and when we start passing them out, we are going to group a few of them together. So that way parents should have more than one. So that way they'll have like the first 3 books or the second set.
Teacher what skill,
Okay,
like what phonics.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Working on,
What
maybe
the
the last
Right.
couple that they worked
okay.
on, the next few, and then be able to get some decodals around that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, that's where something like a literacy night where, maybe by grade or things like that, you can share that with parents and then they can understand, they could go to their library. So there are a lot of other decodable books. These kits are really nice though, because they're comprehensive. So they cover sort of all those basic skills.
And we
really-
also got a story walk, so they're on one side. So if you ever do a literacy night and you want us to show up, we have 2 sets of them. So we're more than happy to set it up for you.
They're hard to find in libraries.
The decodables,
Yes.
yeah, and
They really are, and they're hard to figure it out as a parent.
so, and that's our thought too, is we wanna work with the libraries. I know down in the Newport Public Library, they did finally set up a decodable section. They didn't necessarily have all the background knowledge to support parents, but it was set up. So hopefully with these kits that they're getting, we're gonna do training with them. We're also hoping maybe they'll do the Bridge RI awareness training for the science of reading so that they are able to help parents. But yeah, I think libraries would be a huge area. Also for the kids before school, a lot of parents will take their children to the library. So if they knew, I didn't know about decodables back then, I would have used them, but yeah, I think that's important.
Any other questions?
Do schools currently screen for this?
For dyslexia? Yes, yeah, it is now the screening just even for reading, and with that, they can also start to look for some characteristics of dyslexia.
Yeah, probably 3, 4 years.
Yeah, as soon as it was passed, we trained all the teachers, so it's been 3 or 4 years
Oh,
now.
that's awesome. Yeah, that was 2019.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, thank you all for going through that training. Once it was passed and I saw.
I know.
It was.
Yeah, I'm in my second year,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it gets,
I'm in the second year of the training,
Okay.
so.
So you, probably didn't get it through your educator prep program?
No, because I went to URI and I graduated in 2021,
Okay.
and by the time I was already starting to do like my coursework, they were like, yeah, you're gonna just have to figure this out. I was like, okay,
Thanks.
thank
Do you know if they
I-
have like any classes now? Do they have?
I think they,
They do.
yeah, I think
I
they've
got
started
real a while ago.
orienting into
Rick
the,
does.
Rick,
curriculum.
yeah,
or
Rick.
whatever
So
it
Rick
is.
has their whole program. You come out with them, yeah.
Yeah. So that's good for future.
Yeah.
But you fell in that sort of.
Yeah, I was in a weird spot, and URI just said figure it out, so.
Thank you for going through the training, because I, as a parent, it is not.
So I got
a lot of.
anything.
No, you're good. It's good, but saying thank you for getting that done right away.
Yeah, and we know, like, as new teachers, so every year we kind of start a different cohort
Yep.
of teachers who may or may not have had it. If they could be a, teacher of 10 years, but we're in another system and they didn't finish it, so.
Yep.
We're still trying to keep that cycle.
That's great. Have you seen positive impacts from Right to Read and the curriculum changes?
I mean, I think so. I think definitely, like, at the younger years, there's more, teachers coming up with, oh, I noticed this, like, let's start, the intervention. So I feel like,
Yeah.
It's been positive.
Yeah.
That way, we do and have done the screening for a number of years, but I think they look at the results a little differently now.
Yep.
The lower grades are doing U-Fly.
Oh,
So,
good.
like,
Yeah.
looking
Oh,
at
wow.
Yesterday, a teacher was like, no, like with U-Fly, I'm seeing this with their
Yeah.
encoding, like they can read the words, but when, so it's like, wow.
Right, and
they
so it's
bring it-
drilling down
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
just saying,
You
oh,
fly, Joe, remember when
I
so
know.
when I went to Rick, like you fly, remember Eileen, I'm like, you guys gotta use this
Yeah.
U fly program, and then when I started, I'm like, U fly was so great, and it
That's
really
awesome.
zones in, and it's interactive, and there's so many different things, and there's U fly Facebook groups, and
yeah,
so many great multi-sensory
yeah.
approach to U fly, so I'm so happy I didn't using it.
And thank you to the teachers because
know.
it was a lot. And I
Yeah.
know that we were just like, okay, here's another thing that we have to do.
Yeah.
Like as the pendulum swings, it just keeps on going back and forth. So thank you very much for doing
Yeah.
that. Well,
And we hope that you are now having different conversations. You
Yeah.
can drill down to,
Yesterday.
yeah, drill down to those, what really is the
The
issue.
underlying.
Yeah, so, well, thank you guys.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for taking the time out,
Yeah.
it was great, and thanks for sharing your story too. Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
It gives me so much hope.
I walked by the classroom like, that is the classroom.
They don't work there, so I'm just gonna put that out
Yeah,
there.
they're not
Don't
working
worry.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't older, yeah, no, it wasn't older.
It's gonna be 20 years, like when freshman year reunion's coming up.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns, want to share anything? What happened? Oh, yeah, we can shut down.
Well,
we're gonna finish.
Was it Saturday or the week before?
Thank you.
Ability to check. I mean, I think so for everybody new here that doesn't know, Ability Bridge is a Smithfield youth. Amazing little group.
Nonprofit.
I would say kids, but I feel like you guys are many adults at this point. They do great work. They work to really break the stigma behind special education, which is what we stand for too. I don't know if you have heard of Ability Bridge. So Gwen Clavitt in the back and her board. I don't know if you want to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gwen, I'm the founder and board chair. I'm Olivia, volunteer manager.
I'm the board treasurer.
Oh, I thought you were a kid, Ashley, for a quick second. I was waiting for you. That's so do you want to talk about Ability Bridge? Okay, so.
So we're a youth-run nonprofit, working to raise money for kids with disabilities, but we do various fundraising events throughout the year. And we go far from just raising money. We have all sorts of, events just to bring inclusion and bring everyone together.
No, we just do so many events throughout the year, and we'd love to have you guys like spread it out with others and come if you guys can. But it's really just to, like Amanda said, help end the stigma around disability.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So we
That's
had
amazing.
district-wide, we had a unified day where everyone wears green to embrace all learners. So
Yep.
every learner is welcome in our schools. And then they threw a unified field day. So this is a youth-run, they did an amazing
Yeah.
job.
They initiated it all.
They
and
initiated
I've been to a
everything.
few of the events, and the best thing is seeing the kiddos and feeling like, oh, I belong here, you know?
Right,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we start with green and then we have our color run. And then the color run ends with green. So it's like throughout the year. So we start the school year with green and then we end with color and green. So that's
That's amazing.
yeah, so it's great. So it's great to see them too. So it'd be great for you guys to get that.
Definitely.
Yeah, if we can support you in any way or, yeah, please let us know.
So anybody else? Do you wanna?
Yeah.
Oh,
Eileen, do you have anything to update us on from May till now?
Let's see.
Until
now.
I know that they're
to school.
well, I'm saying, like, I know that, like, our PT went on maternity leave and now there's a person who filled in, so things like that.
Yeah, well,
Well.
we're still working on
Okay.
that. So we do have a PT on leave, and we do have somebody filling in 2 days a week, and really at this point, just kind of troubleshooting, you know, equipment, doing some evaluation. She has been able to check in with all the teachers and the kids and get to know them, but in terms of actual therapy, that's been limited at this point, but she will be available once Sienna returns to help with any makeup services, so, you know, but she's been around making sure that everybody can access, you know, their classroom and has the materials that she needs, so that's, going on. I mean, we've had a pretty good start for the year. I feel like we did so much work over the summer with schedules and caseloads so that people can kind of hit the ground running on day one. And so I think that was successful for the most part. People were able to do that and you know, felt prepared to do it. And I think that was good. A new addition to your prior written notice when you get that at the end of the meeting. So Rhode Island legislation passed in the summer. I want to say it was the end of June, but later, when the governor signed into law that schools are required to inform parents of what's called the Rhode Island ABLES account. And an ABLES account is a way to save money tax-free to help support your child with disabilities like in adulthood. And I will admit, like, I'm not a financial planner.
I get it.
But I added a link to the procedural safeguards, so, you know, if people want more information, they can go right to the Rhode Island Eagles account.
Are you making sure that families know that that's added? And I'm only saying that because, like, I know I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good, but I'm gonna make sure, like, no, I want that.
Yeah, it's on the prior written notice, and I just added it yesterday.
Like something we could even create a
So I
graphic.
just added it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And
So-
so at
Okay.
the bottom of the prior written notice where they check off, like, do you want your procedural safeguards? Did you get your, prior written notice? I added a line there that just says, like, if you want more information, like, click here. So that you'll see. The website has been updated, so, it has all of your events for the
Great.
year
Thank
on
you.
there, the meeting minutes are on there, the agenda, is on there, updated the flyer, the SELAC brochure. That's it.
I did a plug for UFly, but that's also great for
Yeah.
all of our kids, because I love UFly, so.
Yeah, I mean, the other great thing that we're doing, which I don't know, if a lot of districts are doing, but we have a partnership with Providence college, so we're, doing the SRSD,
Oh,
and
right.
don't ask me what it stands for.
Self-regulated strategies development.
Yeah, it's research-based writing, and so it's very, like, there aren't many research-based writing programs around, and so, we really wanna get those quality, you know,
Yeah.
speaking of like high-quality
Yeah.
instructional materials, we have the reading, we have the math, science, and so what, you know, we need to elevate in every area, and so teachers are getting trained in that. We're at a pilot, stage, so I think it's grades 3 to 5
Yeah.
at Pleasant View,
Yeah.
and then
I'm
1
doing
to
it in
8
my
and
class.
2 at
Yeah.
Old County and La Perche, just to try to get.
And then next year it will be the opposite group.
Yeah.
So
And the kids seem excited about it. We're just starting to kick it off in the classes. and,
Yeah.
I've heard lots of great things about it.
Is that the generator rate?
Yeah.
President, she teaches in Connecticut. What's it like?
It's a,
Is it
it's a
like very?
it's not a curriculum, it's a strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's being meshed in. Also, I'm not the perfect person to
No.
answer this, but it's being meshed into ReadyGen. And a lot of it, like one thing that jumps out as me is there's a lot of like almost like backwards mapping,
Okay, yeah.
where you do a modeling and you model out a lot of the work for the students. That's how they're then absorbing the
Yeah.
information, gaining an understanding of the actual process of writing. And then from there, you are building them up towards writing their own.
So like an I do, we do, you do type. of
Yes, but
approach?
it's expanded out
Okay.
Yeah.
like very drastically.
Great.
Whereas I do, we do, you do is more of like, it could be a day to day.
Yeah.
This is stretched out over lessons after lessons after lessons
Okay.
after lessons.
And I know for our kids,
Yeah.
that model is so important.
Yes.
Because that cognitive load, and while they're, you know, working on just spelling, they work
Yeah,
so
and
well.
they're
with that model.
highlighting, well, the teacher's highlighting and modeling, what's the topic sentence, what's the hook,
Yeah,
What's
it's
the example
super
of
interactive, so.
resources.
Yeah.
I think too, I don't know if we've touched on it, but dyslexia, if any of your kids are struggling with it, it's not uncommon. So I have a kid with dyslexia, and it's important for the kid to know it's not weird. Like it's 1 in 5, this is normal, and every kid benefits from the instruction like
Yeah.
like the dyslexia instruction. So neurotypical brains can learn just as well as neurodivergent brains if we really just teach that way. And that's what the science of reading is so important, because every kid, so if you're like, oh, my kid doesn't need that, so why do they have to learn that way? It really benefits every child. So that's super, super important, and no kid feels like, oh, I have to learn this different way, and it's great. There's a lot of it's
For our multilingual learners.
right,
The
exactly.
strategies that we learn to
Yes,
support
yeah.
them
yes,
is
and
good for all kids.
it's good for all kids, and it helps all kids. Yes, all of the strategies help. All the visuals, every kid learns better when they have all those supports. So no kid's gonna say, no, I don't need
Explicit
this.
instruction, not left to figure out how to write a paragraph. And
Yeah, hopefully I explained that well. No,
Yes, no, you did, you did.
I'm like,
Video you, I don't.
oh, really? Well, all right.
Taking notes.
He's sweating now. Yeah, no, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, but let's leave it at that.
No, but it's good enough for us to.
We just had a
The
training
difference
today.
with SRSD is the self-regulation piece.
Yeah.
So they teach you
Self-taught.
all of the excellent writing strategies
Yeah.
that we've been doing all along. It gives our newer teachers like Cole a better framework for
Yeah.
them to follow, because although we know modeling is so important, if a teacher doesn't know how to do that
Right.
and doesn't know what that looks like, then they might just assign something. And we want everybody explicitly modeling, but the self-regulation piece comes in where they're actually telling themselves that this is hard, but I can do it. Writing is hard, but I can do it. I'm a writer, I can do it. And I explicitly teach them how to regulate their emotions and that it is tricky, but we're gonna get through it together.
Yeah, and then eventually we're gonna weave into, with the ReadyGen, with the reading,
Okay.
so.
With the reading.
Were you chosen for that, or did you reach out to PC?
No,
We reach out, Sarah Monica, on it, as soon as
Great.
things come out. So it's a 2-year process, and our classes that are not currently receiving the instruction, they're still doing the baseline writing because they're the control group.
Yep.
And then next year, the opposite grades will all get trained. So in 2 years, the whole elementary district will be trained.
Great.
That's great.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Wonderful.
Did you also want to touch on Amanda Carr being
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So, we have a partnership. So Gateway, applied for a grant, Gateway Mental Health, and it's to become a mental health community center in the community. And so they have that award, and what that allows them to do is partner with the schools and can act as a liaison between, you know, schools and families and help connect families with any resource they might be needing. So it could be, you know, a resource for mental health needs, or it could be, you know, housing, food insecurity, you know, any type of assistance, you know, Amanda is available for. And she has been to all of the open houses at each school, and then she started visiting the schools, last week.
Yeah, she's already been to Lafarge multiple times, and we met and talked about specific families. I've already connected her with families and connected her with specific students, and she's literally amazing.
Yeah, kind of like her
She's just a doer.
streamlines.
She's a doer.
Yeah, like it streamlines the process, so families aren't like meeting, you know, to get connected to somebody, so. She's our
And that's
contact.
what I talked about. She was not at Old County, because she said she wasn't there yet, because of the principal not being there yet.
I know she
Um,
hadn't visited like, she doesn't have a day.
Yeah,
to
she
go
wasn't there for
yet.
the open house,
Oh.
because she said, because she wasn't, because she's not there.
Okay.
So she was not at the open house, because saw her at every open house. We talked
Okay.
at length, about a lot of things. But she was awesome. But one thing she brought up was that Smithfield is the first district that she was constantly asked about, neuropsychs and trying to find shorter wait lists. And she said, you know, I've never gone anywhere that has said that they're on such long wait lists everywhere. So she said that was gonna be one of her like main things for Smithfield, because at every open house, she's like, this is crazy. No,
Yeah.
like, welcome to Smithfield. But yeah, she's really responsive. I, had a personal question, like a situation that I was dealing with, and she literally next day followed up with me, and then I happened to talk to her that night at an open house. So I didn't respond to her email, but you know, that Gmail obviously went back to her, and she went 5 days later. She's like, hey, just making sure you saw this. So I had to remind her we talked in person, but she's really on top of it. And she sent me a whole PDF of all of these people and gave me wait times for the wait list for every single one. So that was really awesome. And you know, the neuropsych that I'm looking for, my son is blind, and that brings like a whole new level, and it's kind of specific where he can go, and she was able to find like 4 places. So that was really cool, because I thought I was limited to 1. So yeah, she's a really great resource. If you haven't seen her at the open houses or haven't been able to connect, she's great. So I want to make sure you talk about her. Is there anything else that you can think of?
You said the State House is the 18th?
Yes.
Okay,
You gonna join us?
I'm gonna try.
All right.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome. Feel free. It'll be fun.
No, I just texted David and he's like, I have the 18th down. I said it's the 19th and David declining. Yeah, he said he's going, right?
He's going, yes, I messaged him to join us, and, you know, whoever else wants to join us, I would love to have a big showing and a picture, and, yeah. Do a lot of other towns also go, or is it just?
We're trying to get
Yeah,
it there, we've been
we're
trying
We're
to.
trying, in past it had just kind of been individuals and like.
I'm competitive, so I just wanna.
Yeah.
You say.
And biggest dependency was, from
Just
who was,
secretly.
Lucy Kara.
Like, we're all over there.
Because,
Yes.
How many people would take showing? Keep to my own.
Bigger.
Their teachers.
Pick up
got
people,
bored
find along the
yeah,
way.
So she brought all of their.
Yeah,
It was just
a-
you're from Smithfield.
It's a basic question, you know? Alright, yeah, perfect, thank you, everybody.
Did anybody else have any questions for us, for Decoding Dyslexia? I mean, anybody, anything? Even ability, Britain? No? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.